Hello, folks, and welcome to Osquery Office Hours. It is early November here. It's a reasonably warm day with pretty leaves outside in Boston, and I hope it's calm where everyone else is. So let's see. First section is announcements or highlights since the last meeting. I don't think I've got anything. Anyone else for announcements? Okay. Next section is questions, issues, PRs, anything people want to discuss that did not bubble up into an agenda item.
I have a question. I was hoping Alessandro would be here. Can y'all hear me? It keeps telling me I have internet problems. Okay.
Yep.
My question is why is the like experimental BPF functionality still considered experimental, and like should we be declaring it the stable functionality? Or what else needs to be done? It comes up because I had like a fleet community member asking me like, hey, this new BPF stuff seems to work way better performance and stuff, but people will have questions if I turn on this experimental functionality in our production environments. I don't know if anyone here has an answer to that, or maybe you should bring it back up when Alessandro is around.
So I don't recall everything, but I think that kind of implementation, if I'm not wrong, doesn't have the same compatibility range as the one that is currently implemented. That's one, but the other thing, yeah, probably waiting for for feedback on how it was working. But yeah, I have to ask him. I don't recall specifically.
Okay, I think since he's not here, maybe best to just I can just bring it up in Slack.
My inclination is that we should push it towards prod. And if we're worried about compatibility ranges, that we should maybe allow people to enable the old behavior with a legacy flag. I think it's worth experimental branches, but I think we're pretty small, so there may not be a place where we're like, yeah, it's definitely tested enough. So I feel like we may need a little bit of a bias to yes or something.
Was this
that sounds good to me.
Was this BPF replacing an older implementation that also employed BPF?
Yeah.
It's like Alessandro made like a BPF rule generator. I think maybe it's using that thing.
It might also be his use of the I forget what it's called, the dynamic type.
BTF.
BTF. Yeah, so discovering like kernel types without. Well, anyway, I think
yes, that sounds right to me.
So, I feel like that at one point might have been sort of more cutting edge than it is now. So maybe because it's had time to kind of make its way into most people's kernels, that you could call that the main implementation, and the other one called it legacy implementation. Let people migrate on with what they got if they want to continue using it.
Yep, that totally makes sense to me. Okay, cool. I'll bring up the thoughts that we had here in the BPF channel on Slack and tag Alessandro and see what he thinks. Thanks, Al.
Sorry, just taking notes. The agenda item I had was the Osquery 514 release, which we cut and has been hanging out for a little while. And I don't think we called it stable yet, but maybe we should or could. I don't know if anyone's tested it or what the state there is.
I believe it's running on our Edge channel. I can verify that. How do I verify that? Oh, I know how. Yep, it's been running for a couple weeks on our Edge channel, and seems to be working fine. I do actually have a question about that because I kind of like did the work and then disappeared, but sounds like the Windows signing worked first try.
Yeah,
Good.
I mean, we validate the signatures as part of our release process, and we failed our signature validation because it had a different CA attached to it.
Oh,
Um,
no, that makes sense. But
It was legit.
but then you looked and it was signed.
Yep, it was signed. It was perfect. We just hadn't whitelisted the CA yet.
Oh, great.
So perfect.
Good.
Um,
That's good news.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, because I was kind of like, well, it's a bit of a crapshoot here that it actually works first try.
so
And
I don't. The only people I know that I've heard of as having like certificate signing pins were in the Mac world.
Mm.
You know, I've helped people create policy around like what are the potential signers for Osquery and Collide, and I don't even remember which people or what tool it was for. But I don't remember anyone ever asking about that for Windows.
Cool.
Yeah, Collide's had it running in our alpha fleet for a little while now as well, with no issues, no reported
Well, I
issues.
think we should declare it stable then. Do we have release notes? Do we need release notes?
They've been merged already. Lucas maybe did them, and maybe
Awesome.
I think I proofed them, and maybe Stefano did as well.
Then did we get a note about the Windows signature changing into those release notes? Good, great, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hal.
Sorry,
That's probably the last release of the year.
probably. I mean, we could get real motivated.
Yeah, give everyone a Christmas present.
Yeah, and while we're talking about signing, I did just log into the Azure dashboard, and that message, that email that you'd seen, Steph, was from one of the 4 different names I tried to submit under. So we're still good on the one that we are actually using.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, I am remembering how we promote production now. I think I remember how. So wonderful. I will click you some buttons.
Thank you.
We'll find the right actions. Release to buckets. There we go. There's too many workflows. Broad. Okay. That thing. That one. GitHub. Okay. I have flagged it as stable on GitHub. I have started the release to buckets workflow run. Let me go kick off a website release now. I think it's just those 3 things. I guess it's been a while since I've done this.
Buckets, website, and sorry, you said you marked it stable on GitHub?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is all I can think of.
Fine. Osquery release. What do we say? This is 5.14.1?
Yeah.
5.14.1. Okay, there we go. Let's kick off that one, which I think I have to do a manual step on too, because GitHub Pages is a pain in the neck. But That's fine. Okay, well, great. Yay. Ah, delightful. This one didn't work. Okay, well, I'll have to, why did that not work? Okay, I'll probably have to debug that at some point. That may not be this minute in time. Maybe it could be this minute in time. What are you doing? What are you doing? Sorry, I'm trying to kind of stare at this and wonder what it's going on about.
Is there a code sign workflow that failed, or?
Was not the code sign one. That's still going. Oh yeah, that's a slow one because it has to. The way the code sign one works is to release it to the Debian and RPM repositories. We fetch the entire existing repository and then update the local copy and repush. So it's sort of painful. There's probably some ways to fix that, but no one has really done that. Okay, so the Linux package, did the Linux package name change? No. Well, that's interesting. The Linux package is not in our bucket. That's weird. That's very weird. Man, I don't remember how this stuff works. Shit. Okay, so the website run works by downloading the packages and checksumming them and then re-uploading them. Excuse me, checksumming them and then uploading the JSON file with the checksums. And it is trying to download a package, and it is getting a 404, which implies we're missing something from the bucket. So that's kind of weird. I guess, actually, that's probably because we can't run the website until release to buckets is done. So never mind. Cool.
Oh, yeah, I guess that would make sense. Is that still running?
Yes, yes. Okay, delightful. No error yet.
And then the website release should also be updating the schema file, if I remember.
Yep, that's what it does. It does that too, correct. Correct. Okay, well, I will sit here and clicky buttons until it's done. People want to talk about anything else?
It's a slow day. Everyone got to get out there and vote.
I voted.
I vote today.
Faxed in my vote.
Wait, did you say you faxed in your vote?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a fax machine, Zach?
Oh, no.
Is it next to your guillotine in the back?
Yes. No, but no, it should be. I had to try 3 different internet fax services before one actually worked. Had about 6 calls with El Dorado County in California, where I'm registered as an overseas voter.
I didn't realize you were not in the U.S. right now.
Oh, I'm in. Yeah, I've live up near Vancouver, Canada. I've been here for like 4 years.
All right.
But turns out you can still vote in the U.S. when you're living
Wherever you
abroad.
were last registered, if I remember.
Wherever
right.
you're last registered. Yeah, it's kind of weird, like voting for city council and stuff in a place where I haven't lived for 4 years.
If you still pay taxes, though, right? You still pay their salaries.
In theory, paying taxes, but in practice with Canada, like there's a tax treaty, so you have to file taxes in the U.S., but you count taxes that you paid in Canada against the taxes you would have to pay in the U.S., and you pay more in Canada, so you don't actually end up paying more in the U.S. But I pay my accountants a lot more than I used to pay TurboTax to figure out how it all works.
Yeah.
Glad someone's winning.
But yeah, California state law apparently allows you to receive a ballot by email, but you must submit it by fax
Facts.
or mail. But like the mail will take too long, and the ballot probably won't get counted. I needed to mail it like a month ago.
Facts. I mailed my ballot about 2 weeks ago because I just vote by mail now, and I don't get any stickers, and it's very anticlimactic.
They don't
give
send
us
you a sticker. They sent me a sticker with my
Yeah.
mail ballot.
That's what I have, but it's like it's anticlimactic to just put it on yourself, you know, at home. Just like work from home, nobody sees it. Yeah.
Yeah, Massachusetts didn't even give me a sticker this time.
Oh,
I used to put them on my laptop actually, as laptop stickers. The bottom would just be coated in little I voted stickers.
oh, that's cool. That's a good idea.
You know, maybe comes because I used to work in politics. But okay,
Sorry, I got us off topic.
I'm just clicking GitHub things in the background, so. But we have released to the buckets, and now I am rerunning the website updater. So we will see where that goes. I imagine it will be just fine. I'm sure there are PRs that we should be reading, right? There are always PRs.
I think there were some that I wasn't going to bring up again until after a release. And I guess if there's been a release, then we're in a mode to be open-minded about merging things that have been approved. Is that the mode we're in?
I'm almost always willing to merge things that are approved.
I hesitate to do that. I don't know what it's good time.
Very responsible of you.
But if you see anything that's approved and you'd like to merge it, that'd be great.
Actually, if we're talking about this, Zach, you opened a PR for Yara events and generated schemas, and then we maybe had a discussion that we should just move the spec files.
Yes, and I didn't follow up on that. But yeah, I mean, I think that would make sense. It's probably a slightly trickier change to do, but I would, but I'm not certain. Actually, maybe it would just get picked up automatically if they just get moved.
I think you have to add them into the CMake files.
Yeah, there's a single path in the like in the specs folders. There's a CMake list there, or actually the folder above, if I correct. But anyway, yeah, it points to the various tables one by one that are in that folder. So if you move one, you have to just change the path, so it finds it again. But otherwise, it's should be it.
If I can get to it at some point, if someone else wants to open a new PR or push changes to my PR, feel free.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where. I wanted to make sure we didn't totally drop that.
I think it doesn't. It's not particularly urgent. Like it needs to get done before the next release, because
It's nice to have.
Or we could manually edit that schema file for now to actually fix the docs potentially. But
we could port Yara to Windows.
We could
But no.
port Yara events to Windows. Yeah, in fact, it's being considered at Fleet.
I mean, doesn't
That's
Yara
gonna be a lot more work.
Yara also like rewrote themselves in Rust recently, right? So we're like a major Yara version behind.
Well, are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know, like, because we're using the older Yara. They have since rewritten in Rust. I assume they bumped the major version, but you know, maybe not. And I have no idea what the library options around sort of C++ culling, Rust. I don't know anything about this space. But if Fleet is actually looking at that, it's probably worth evaluating what the new Yara Rust builds are like and how that works. Because I would be putting work into what is sort of the dead end of their library is probably the wrong direction.
So, I mean, the Yara Rust library, it's a separate project as far as I know. So it's the older Yara is still kind of supported. I think they are only doing bug fixing there. And yeah, no, integrating Rust library into the build process of Osquery is not as straightforward as, because yeah, there's the whole, we have to understand how to compile it in a way that is compatible with all the again, with all the Linux. So yeah, we have to see how we can integrate the Osquery toolchain in the build of that library, plus obviously rewriting the build system part of it. So yeah, it's not straightforward. But yeah, no, the moving of that table, it's I can do it now. It's again one line change. So
the release is done now. Everything should be on stable. So 5.14.1 should be out on stable. Realized we could talk a little bit about the unified log table if people are excited to.
I sort of remember that, sort of.
nothing better than now, I guess.
Well, I mean, I lost about a Saturday to making a release go due to that table. So, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I found an issue, right? So the core of the problem is that the basic Mac API into the unified logs is about getting an enumeration, and you can filter the enumeration, but then if you don't fully enumerate it, there is a memory leak. And this seems like it must be a macOS bug, but it's years old at this point, so who knows if they'll ever fix it. And I haven't found an obvious way around it, right? There's no like free we're missing, there's no close, there's no auto release pool. Like, you know, it's just, it's pretty clear, right? I wrote myself a tiny test case and it's easy to reproduce. But I think if we actually want to do feature development here, there is a route we can do, right? Because we can, if we understand sort of the timestamps and the log positions, we can actually create some underlying fetch routine that like fetches 1,000 at a time, you know, or fetches it in 1 minute increments and then, you know, stitches that together into something. I'm not quite sure what that would look like around the edges, but like I can sort of see the shape of that code, and I'm unlikely to have any time to write it. But
1,000 at a time is kind of like a pagination.
Yeah, exactly. Like manually paginating it, which these enumeration should do for us. But, you know, like I basically, we should build an enumerator on the enumeration.
This is for which table you said, Seth?
Unified log.
Hmm.
Unified log. It's got a memory leak in it.
Are there any other tables that are either constrained or have similar behavior pattern, like needing to be queried with a range and I'm just thinking like, is that a usability challenge that a paginator, that if we could make something in core that was like a generic utility for tables like this, that they could just work through that instead of asking the user to crafts intelligent queries. That's
Windows event log might be like that.
I don't know, because the problem feels very specific to the unified logs memory leak, right? Right. It would be entirely reasonable to have an API that handed back an enumeration that you can just stop enumerating. So like the way we addressed this when that table was written is we created a max items column, and the max items column just stops the enumeration when you're done, because that's a very normal API pattern, right? You have an iterator and you just stop iterating when you don't need anything else. But that has some underlying macOS memory leak. So I don't, and I don't know if you could. I don't know how clear the code would be if you tried to write a generic paginator for enumerators and then plugged in APIs versus just writing a bespoke one for unified log.
I agree that's making the problem harder for us. I was just thinking, can we be consistent if we have tables that are kind of similar in the way the user sees them? Would it be bad if we have, one model of operation for unified log and another one for Windows event log?
No, I agree. I just don't know if we have this problem in other places.
Yeah, it sounds like we don't have the problem in other places.
Yeah, so I don't know if how widely used unified log is. So it's just a thing for people to kind of chew on if it's a thing that they need.
Well, I think we should be, like you were saying, biased towards action. If we were hesitant to drastically change the interface of this table, we should not be, because I think as is, the leak and people preferring the extension, there's room here for experimenting, right?
I don't think I don't know how to change the interface of the table in a way that's successful. The only thing I can think of is coming up with an intermediary fetch library, which effectively builds pagination over the underlying API. But the table interface stays the same, because what people want to do is, I think they want to either select something from a time period with a max number of rows, or they want to sort of try and use it as like a log tail functionality. And those are the two things we see. And both of those need about the interfaces we have today. The reason that the exec is successful is because if the thing you exec to has a memory leak, it doesn't matter because it gets killed. So that effectively frees the memory, right? When you exec out to something and it exits. So, if you wanted to say, give me the first 100 logs, or like, here's a set of log predicates, give me the matches of them, and then, I only need the top 1,000 matches of things from Apple kernel. It's just like stuff like that is.
I mean, if you think that doesn't change the interface, then I guess there's nothing to lose.
Well, I just don't have the couple of days to learn enough C++ to write it.
Yeah.
If it bubbles up my stack, I'll do it. But otherwise, it's just kind of sits in my mind, and now an issue as well.
Sketching it out in a blueprint issue, we could move it forward at least.
Yeah, there's an issue. That's
there's already an issue.
Oh, I filed one. Yeah. So I think we basically would need some kind of pagination layer on top that does it and stitches the results back together and say generate. I think it'd probably be pretty clean, actually. It's probably like 100 lines of C++. But it's beyond my ability to quickly write. So I just wanted to note it for people. Anything else people want to talk about? If not, maybe we call it a meeting. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Talk to you in a little while.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.